Welcome to the Weather Guru Live info on Hurricane Beryl. Hurricane Beryl is now churning in the central Atlantic and it is moving. We're going to give you the latest stats and advisories according to the National Hurricane Center here. Thank you for joining me on the Weather Guru podcast live here on Eastern Standard Time, 9:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just got the intermediate advisory. We're talking about Hurricane Beryl here, which is currently a Category 1 hurricane, forecast to become a major hurricane probably by sometime Sunday night. Rapid intensification is expected. We're going to be talking about the conditions that are going to be expected to affect the parts of the Caribbean, and as it makes its way continue westward. We're going to talk about the steering currents, but as right now, let's get the latest information on it. Hurricane Beryl is moving west at 22 miles an hour, very fast clip. Pressure's down to 990 millibars, and the maximum sustained winds are at 80 miles an hour. So it just became a hurricane today, Category 1 hurricane on the scale of 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale that we use, as you know. And it's going to be expected to be rapidly intensify here. We're going to look at the track here. And we're going to talk about a system that's coming up behind it that could experience upwelling, but it also could be another system, it could become our C-name storm later on. But right now, like I said, it's an 80 mile an hour hurricane, Category 1. It's moving very fast, west at 22 miles an hour. Now, what it has in its favor, as you know, there's warm sea surface temperatures here. I want to show you the sea surface temperature graphic here. There's temperatures in the upper 80s, lower to mid 80s, heading to the upper 80s in portions of the Gulf of Mexico, as well as the lower Caribbean, the Yucatan Peninsula, and the Bay of Campeche, where the storm is heading towards. Now, what's steering the storm is the currents, obviously a subtropical ridge, the Bermuda High, all of that. It's a strong ridge. 2 ridges of high pressure that's going to be coming up that's going to be steering this westward, okay? And typically, this storm is pretty unusual in that it's far out. Usually, we don't talk about storms forming off Cape Verde, Africa, and, coming westward until later on in the peak of the hurricane season, like mid-August to mid-September. And then there's a peak in October, that secondary peak. So this is pretty early in the season, first month of the hurricane season, and we're already talking about a major hurricane on our hands. Now, this is not to be this is to be expected. As you know, all the reports came out from CSU and NOAA and all of the typical hurricane reports came out and said it was going to be above active year. However, this is very early for a major hurricane to be factored in here. So if you have interest, people in Barbados, heading down the Lesser Antilles, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, all these islands here are going to be affected. The Spice Islands, they're going to be affected by this system. But luckily, the core of this system should pass to the south, okay, Barbados south, and so they'll be on the northern end of this, kind of the dirty end of northern end of this, sort of may get brushed by the eye wall. But here's the thing that's going to be interesting, okay. Right now, hurricane force winds only extend out 10 miles from the center, so it has a very small, compact zone of hurricane force winds. Tropical storm force winds extend out possibly upwards of 60 miles an hour. So right now, it's a very complex system, a very compact system here. As you can see on the infrared satellite here, I put this into motion. You can see it moving here, but what it has in its favor is that it has those deep convection there. You can see the deep convection around the center, wrapping around that center there. So the strongest of the winds, those 80 mile an hour sustained winds, are only in that 10 mile zone on either side of the eye, okay? So we're talking right in here, okay, where those dark, deep purples are and those deep whites. The colder the cloud tops, of course, the stronger the storm, the higher the winds, and it's getting that vertical stacking. As you can see, it's very symmetrical. Look at that symmetrical in all 4 quadrants. What we mean by symmetrical is it's not lopsided, it's not being sheared. There is a little bit of dry air intrusion on the northwest side of this storm, and we're going to be looking into that a little bit later. There is a little bit of dry air intrusion coming into that zone there, as you can see. But Beryl will strengthen into a major hurricane. Expect this to get to a mid-grade Category 3 hurricane. Winds are possibly 125 miles an hour or greater as it passes I'm going to go back to the graphic here. As it passes into the Caribbean Sea, right around here, just before it gets to Jamaica, maybe about a couple hundred miles east of Jamaica. It's about Tuesday. It should be at its strongest here, somewhere between 120 mile an hour, 130 mile an hour, depending on the level of wind shear. Right now, the wind shear is low. Sea surface temperatures are high. Everything is in its favor. The only things that are not in Hurricane Beryl's favor right now is its movement. Its speed is very fast, so it's having a hard time keeping up with the thunderstorms wrapping around the center. As you can see, the core is great. Remember now, the hurricane force winds only extend out 10 miles so far. Expect the wind field of the tropical storm force winds to expand from 40 miles to about 60 to 80 miles as the system intensifies. Rapid intensification could happen tomorrow or could happen Monday. Most likely in this path that they got going on here, there will be some interaction with these islands, obviously, but not much. It's not going to slow it down much. So expect Monday afternoon into Tuesday morning, that's when that rapid intensification, as it pulls away from the islands, the Lesser Antilles, as it pulls away from there, expect rapid intensification Monday afternoon into Tuesday morning, and that's when we're going to see this thing explode. Now, also keep in mind, in terms of the, I want to show you the, let's see, I'm going to go back. I want to show you the steering currents here. Like I said, in America we have these showers and everything. Now if Hurricane Beryl does come towards the Gulf of Mexico, there's two options for this. Now typically later on in the season you see it pull up like this and pull into the Florida Panhandle or something like that. This is not going to be one of those type of systems, in my opinion. This is going to be one that's going to pull up into the Yucatan Peninsula, and then once it gets here by Thursday or Wednesday, this is less certain obviously because it's too far out to predict. And if that ridge breaks down, if both high pressure ridges break down that's steering this thing, then look out, all bets are off. Anybody in the Gulf of Mexico, say from Pensacola all the way back to Houston, Texas, that's what is in the danger zone. Okay, but in the meantime, we're very concerned about Jamaica because Jamaica could take a darn near direct hit from this system, or Cayman Islands too as well, because it looks like at this point it's passing south of the mountainous areas. Now if the ridge breaks down, there's a chance that it can interact, of course, with Hispaniola and with the eastern mountains of Cuba. If it does pull north of Jamaica and of the islands of Haiti and all of that, then expect a little bit of a weaker system. It still won't go below hurricane strength, but it'll be a weaker system, maybe a Cat 1 or a Cat 2, because it's going to be interacting with those high mountains of eastern Cuba and Hispaniola. If it pulls on this southern track that they're showing now, this is too far out now to be 100% certain, I know that, but I'm just saying, if it pulls on the southern track, that means that the subtropical ridge, the high pressure ridge, or Bermuda High, whatever you want to call it, is stronger, and that means it's going to continue westward on towards the Yucatan Peninsula and into the Bay of Campeche, and then, bets are closer for Texas or even Mexico, northern Mexico again, possibly the same spot that Alberto hit as a weak, tropical storm. But this would be a hurricane, obviously. Now, so this is the options that we have. Now, another option that we do have, another scenario is the steering currents slow down. The system, let's say it gets into the Caribbean Sea, and just before it gets under Hispaniola, it slows down tremendously. Let's say that ridge breaks down and it slows down tremendously, and that's something that you don't want. Let's say it comes down to like 15 miles an hour, 13 miles an hour, 12, 11, something like that. Then we have a big problem on our hands because the water is very warm. No wind shear is going to be factored. Obviously, if they're forecasting it for it to be a major hurricane, and you know what that means? That means that this thing is going full blast to Category 4, okay? And then that means that, so the only things that we have working against it that we can hope for in the Caribbean Sea whilst traversing the Caribbean Sea once it gets past the islands. Now, let's talk about some of the impacts for the islands here. With a system of this magnitude, they're used to hurricanes coming through the Lesser Antilles like Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, St. Lucia. However, you want to take the precautions if you're in the islands, because hurricane conditions can be expected as soon as in the forecast area, as soon as Monday morning, 9 a.m., Monday morning, 10 a.m. That'll be the worst of the weather, anywhere from 9 to noon Monday morning and Monday afternoon, as you'll be on the backside of that. But there will be hurricane conditions and tropical storm conditions, most likely, because the hurricane force winds, unless they expand, is only extending out 10 miles from the center. We have central dense overcast. Now we're waiting for that eye to come. But you can see they have the maximum peak at 120 miles an hour in 48 hours. I have my maximum peak at 130 miles an hour, pushing it to category, almost a low end Category 4, probably by Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So we'll wait and see. In any event, heavy rainfall and localized flooding is expected across the Windward Islands Sunday night and Monday. So you want to be, this is going to be the major thing too, because guys, you have to understand that these islands have huge potential for flooding with this system here. I want to show you, let me see if I can go back to the satellite imagery here. I want to show you the satellite, the visible, let me show you the water vapor here. Okay, these islands have a huge potential for flooding here as this system progresses here. Because of the way it's organized, as you can see here, let me show you the water vapor here. You can see in front of it here, this is the moist areas here, deep clouds. You can see the moisture here, okay? Look at in front of it here, you can see there's a little patch of dry air to the north here, and this indicated by this dark color up here. But here's Barbados, and here's the chain of islands I'm talking about, okay? So as it interacts with these islands, a lot of these islands are mountainous, and so like St. Lucia, Barbados on the leeward side, okay? So St. Lucia, Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and these other islands here, Saba, St. Eustatius. Okay, these islands here are, some of them are mountainous, and so they can get upwards of anywhere from 4 to 9 inches of rainfall And as that goes down the mountains here, this is going to be devastating for a lot of flooding and stuff. So that's the main thing. Yes, there'll be wind, but as you can see, the hurricane force winds only extend out 10 to 15 miles from the center. So they will see hurricane conditions, but that's not going to last the full day Monday, according to this forecast. And I don't see it lasting the whole day. They'll be back in tropical storm conditions. But either way, look, tropical storm conditions are still dangerous to be out, and especially with this rainfall, and you can have mudslides or mudslides or landslides. Okay, with these type of things coming across the mountains here. So this is the key messages, of course. We have a dangerous major hurricane late Sunday night into Monday. It's going to bring those destructive hurricane force winds. Storm surge could be possible, any on the order of 7 to 9 feet, or even 7 to 10 feet with this system. It becomes category 2, 1, etc. That's increases with the category. Localized flooding and rainfall is my concern with these Windward Islands Sunday night into Monday. Okay, so this is going to be the concern. Now, of course, the track is uncertain in day 4 and 5. So once again, I show you that track here. And you want to take note, whenever you have a westerly track like that, they're very certain that the subtropical ridge is going to hold up. Most of the models are certain that the subtropical ridge above it, that steering current, is going to hold up. However, look for this thing once it gets under Hispaniola sometime Tuesday afternoon. That's where we're going to find out how strong that ridge is. Now, according to the official forecast, it's supposed to break down and another one's supposed to take its place, but that doesn't always happen. Now, if that does not happen, if that ridge does not break down, like I said, this thing is going to slow down from this 22 miles. Right now, it's moving west at 22 miles an hour. It's going to slow down tremendously, maybe down to 15, 13, 12 miles an hour. If it slows down, then that means that it's going to continue on that northwest pattern, and it may interact more with Hispaniola, the mountains of Haiti, and the mountains of eastern Cuba. If that's the case, we got a whole different system going on here than if it stays to the south, interacts with Jamaica and Cayman Islands, and maybe coming into the Bay of Campeche or something like that. We have a whole different ball game on our hands. Now, this is going to become the first major hurricane of the hurricane season that's category 3 or above, with winds of 111 miles an hour or above. Okay, but remember, when they talk about the maximum sustained winds, we're talking about in that northeast quadrant of the eye. And it extends out, all the way out. That's the maximum winds of that. But there's higher gusts. There's other threats. Obviously, flooding is the threat right now, and landslides for the islands. I think they'll be fine. I think, the islands from Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, Saba, Trinidad and Tobago, you're under a tropical storm warning. You may get some effects of this, but like I said, most of the islands should be pretty fine. But there will be some slight damage. Obviously, some power lines down and trees down, because this is hurricane force winds that could come directly over some of these islands here. Excluding Barbados. Barbados will take a hit, but since they will be on the north side of the eye, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. They'll be on the north side. It shouldn't be as bad. But hurricane warnings are posted for these islands down here in the Caribbean. So once it gets into Tuesday morning, we will have a better idea of what we're dealing with here. And like I said, sea surface temperatures are warm all the way around, as they should be. We're in summer now. This is heading into July, so it's not. It's just that this is so far from this is happening so quickly from the coast of Africa here, that we're not used to seeing. People are not used to seeing this, this so soon. Usually June and July, it's kind of a quiet month. You may get a few storms, but nothing crazy. Okay, so we're gonna look at another thing here I want to show you also as well. This is the visible satellite. It's dark now. The sun is going down, but the system is still intense. You can see the colors changing, the colder cloud tops here, and I want to show you this image here. This is the visible cloud satellite image here, and you can see on the system here, you can see, I want to show you the northwest quadrant up here is the weakest quadrant in terms of it's entraining some of the dry air, or it could be wobbly. The eye is wobbly. They mentioned that in the Hurricane Center advisory. The next advisory, ladies and gentlemen, comes out at 11 p.m. Eastern time, and they have these intermediate advisories that come out, at 5 a.m. and 8 a.m., etc., 11 a.m., and then they have a 2 p.m., and then they have a 5 p.m., etc. Okay, so we're going to see, but look for strengthening overnight. This could get up to a category 2, category 3 before morning fall on Sunday morning. It's still about maybe about a good 300 to 400 miles, 500 miles southeast of Barbados right now. But this thing is gaining ground as it's only moving west at 22 miles an hour, very fast. But it's very symmetrical, as you can see here in all quadrants. High thunderstorm clouds, that's what you like to see for a rapidly intensifying hurricane. And like I said, now there's a system that's coming up behind it that I want to mention here. I want to talk to you. Let me see if I can go back to the main page here. I want to go back to home. I want to show you the other system behind here. That's not the only game in town, ladies and gentlemen. We have a system behind here that's given a high chance, a 70% chance of formation in 7 days, only 30% chance in 3 days. So if this system, look out, and this system, you notice here is lower latitude, a little bit lower latitude than Beryl was, Hurricane Beryl is right now. So it's going to be dealing with a little bit cooler waters. Okay, that's what we have going for us. But it is expected to develop despite the upwelling of it passing possibly over the same areas that Beryl came through. So this is very interesting. But this here is expected to become our C-name storm in the next by next Friday in 7 days. Okay, it could be. So like I said, a tropical depression is likely to form by the middle of next week as it moves 15 to 20 miles across the eastern side. So we're already starting the Cape Verde, meaning off the coast of Africa here, tropical waves early this year. Strong tropical waves coming off earlier this year. Now, a couple of factors too that I'm very curious to know, how much Saharan air dust is in the area. Usually, the Saharan air dust layer in this area right here along just south of the intertropical convergence zone, the ICTZ zone. Okay, guys, they're kind of like the Earth's moisture belt. Usually, there's Saharan air dust. This year, that hasn't been the case. Usually, they'll talk about that in the media a lot about how we have a lot of dust that's inhibiting storms. And the water vapor and growth. We don't have that so far right now. It's not been a factor in this. It looks like in this zone so far. So this is expected to develop to a C-name storm. I'm pretty sure, looking at the satellite here, you can see it. It's nothing really organized right now. A few little organization showers here, but you can see that can be looking healthy here once it gets further along westward in the Atlantic. Now this one's been given a 50% chance of development here too as well. So we could have a D-name storm here, but regardless of development, this is going to bring heavy rainfall to the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, and even if it does emerge off the coast into the Gulf of Mexico, it doesn't have much real estate to work with, maybe a couple hundred miles in the Gulf of Mexico, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, because there could be a frontal zone system coming across the U.S. that could sweep that up, or it could just dissipate, go inland and dissipate. Regardless, that could be expected to move inland over Mexico early next week. So Mexico, interest in northern Mexico as well as central Mexico on the coast, you want to keep an eye out on this system, because this could be a tropical storm that could be a heavy rainmaker for you as well. So we have three systems here in the in the Gulf of Mexico, Bay of Campeche, and the Eastern Atlantic that's coming into the Caribbean Sea here by Monday, and then we have this system out here that could be our C-name storm. It could be developed to be our C-name storm here coming up very shortly here, probably by Wednesday, Thursday of next week. We could be talking about a tropical storm out here that's moving westward along. So that's what we have now. The Eastern Pacific, everything looks quiet out there. Nothing expected the next 48 hours. Central Pacific and Hawaii, it looks absolutely fabulous for surfing. So now remember, we're only about maybe 10 to 15% into the hurricane season, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't gotten to the meat of it. The peak of the hurricane season is from mid-August to mid-September. From mid-September to mid-October is the peak of the hurricane season. And then, we can get stuff outside of the peak and all of that, as you know. But we're expecting at least 20 to 24 named storms, 3 to 5 major hurricanes. We already have a major hurricane here, Beryl, that's going to become a major hurricane probably by Monday night. So this is what we're looking at here. And the National Hurricane Center is spot on. They're doing a great job. They're putting out these reports. They're getting you forecast here. Another thing I want to mention, too, is that for these hurricanes to continue to form, you obviously need warm water over 84 degrees Fahrenheit. You need low wind shear. You need a symmetrical form, meaning that you need it to be a organized system, great inflow, high cloud tops, cold cloud tops. You need an eye over the center here, and we're going to get that eye. That eye will probably show up sometime tomorrow afternoon. And when the sun comes back out tomorrow morning and all that, the eye should form. But it's going to be a very small pinhole eye, because looks like the winds, like I said, once again, it only extends out only 10 nautical miles. So let me know what you think about this Hurricane Beryl. If you have interest in the Caribbean, in the Southern Caribbean, and the Windward Islands, please prepare. This is the first major hurricane. You can expect gusts to hurricane force, and you can expect flooding and heavy rainfall. That's going to be the big thing. Landslides. There's a lot of these mountains. Like I said, Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They have a bunch of mountains, hills, high hills, and they could trigger flooding rains and landslides. Now, if you're in Trinidad and Tobago, I think Trinidad, you escape it. I think Tobago, you get some strong winds, maybe tropical storm force winds, 30 to 60 mile an hour gusts, but you won't get the brunt of this system. Most of the people will be escaping the brunt of this system, as the eye in the hurricane force winds of 80 mile an hour, whereas that now is only in a 10 mile to 15 mile window from the zone from the eye. So that's the great news. Okay, that's good news. And but we can't expect this wind field to expand, obviously, when it becomes a major hurricane past the islands, when it gets past the Windward Islands in the Caribbean Sea. Look for that wind field to expand upwards of 30 to 50 to 60 miles. The hurricane force winds to expand upwards of 30 to 50 miles from the center. So that's what we have looking at here. I just wanted to bring you this live tonight. This is the 8 a.m. I'm going over the 8 p.m. advisory for all those that missed it. That's 8 p.m. advisory, Atlantic Central Time. We have an 80 mile an hour Cat 1, strong Cat 1 hurricane, forecast to become Cat 3 hurricane by Monday afternoon, possibly even higher than that. But this is what we have. So we're watching interest in Jamaica, Cayman Islands, southern Haiti, possibly Dominican Republic. They should monitor it too, starting on Tuesday morning as it begins to transit the Caribbean Sea closer to them, because there's still no guarantee as we get further out in this forecast period that this subtropical ridge is going to hold up. Both ridges are going to hold up once that one disintegrates in the next one. So it could continue westward, it could go northwestward, or it could even continue it could slow down and stall out below Haiti and Dominican Republic too. There's no guarantee that the steering currents are going to continue the way it is, based on all the computer models, the GFS, the Euro, the ensemble models, all that stuff that they look at the, the Hurricane Center and other places. So I'm just letting you know that. So Tuesday afternoon will be the critical time as it transits right under Hispaniola. That's the time when the forecasters are going to decide, well, whether or not this ridge is going to break down, whether or not we got dry air intrusion coming down from the north, whether the wind shear picks up. All that's going to be looked at, as well as what kind of major hurricane. If we have a stronger system coming in Tuesday morning, it's going to continue westward. That's one of the things that they normally talk about. If we have a strong, meaning a Cat 3 or above, Cat 4 or above, it's going to continue westward through southern, Caribbean Sea. If we have a weaker system, it's going to continue northwestward up into these. Hopefully, our prayers is that it continue north of Jamaica and hit these and goes into the mountains of northern Haiti, central Haiti, and eastern Cuba. If it hits those tall mountains, that's going to be disrupt the flow, the inflow and outflow of the system. It may not weaken it that much, but it's going to come down a category, possibly 2 categories, if it goes into that, depending on the structure of the storm. Once we know Tuesday afternoon what we're working with here. But once again, it's too far out into the time and to tell you that once it gets past the Windward Islands, we'll know more of what we're working with and everything like that. But I just want to give you a heads up that this is the latest 8 p.m. Atlantic Central Time advisory, intermediate advisory. The next advisory will be 11 p.m. and expect it to be this is what I expect at the 11 p.m. advisory. Once they get the data from the hurricane hunters out there and investigating the system, it's going to be expanded. This thing here is going to be a Category 2 by 11 p.m. Category 2 winds start at 96 miles an hour. Right now it's at 80 miles an hour at Cat 1. So it should be at a Category 2 by the 11 p.m. advisory Eastern time. Okay, that's coming out in another hour and a half or so. So that's what we expect. I expect it to continue to strengthen throughout the night. It has great organizational structure, as I showed you here. Everything is symmetrical. There's little to no wind shear. Like I said, everything that will weaken it, dry air, is a little bit up here to the north, but it's not entrained in the system far enough. And it's a compact enough system where it's not a big system where it can get into the system, strong. A bigger system meaning a system, hurricane that has hundreds of miles wide, right? If dry air gets into that, it's entrained in the system. But a smaller system is able to fend off dry air, meaning the mild, because it's a smaller system, it's tighter, compact, rotation is tight, and the hurricane force winds only extend out 10 to 15 miles. So we're not talking about a huge system, and so it's able to fend off that dry air as it develops at eye. I do expect the eye to develop sometime tonight, probably in the 5 a.m. advisory tomorrow morning, Sunday morning. You'll see that eye defined here on satellite and all of that. So I just wanted to give you an update. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I'll be back later on with doing the next advisory. This is Hurricane Beryl, the Weather Guru. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel as we continue to watch this system on